Hello and welcome back to another episode of The Lazy Entrepreneur. I'm your host Sam Priestley, and today we got a special bonus episode. You may know that I do some consultancy. Well, a long-time reader of the blog, Owen sent me an email and suggested that instead of doing a normal consultancy where I would go and meet up with him and he'd pay me for my time, that we instead record one over the phone and that we could put it on this blog, and maybe it will be useful to some of you listeners, and at the very least it'll be useful to him. So that's what we've done. It is the first time I tried recording anything over Skype, so I'm afraid it hasn't come out that well. I think the content's still good, but there's quite a bit of background noise, and then to make matters worse, my next door neighbour's got some builders in, and there's some drilling every now and again. But so yeah, if audio quality really matters to you, then maybe give this one a miss. But otherwise, I think it's quite good. So Owen Franks, over to you. Awesome. Cool. Yeah, I was thinking we could try and keep it to about half an hour.
Sounds good to me.
That's sort of length I try and aim for with the podcast, although some of them go over, some of them a bit under.
You don't tend to do much editing with it either, do you? Just have a natural conversation and it goes as it goes.
Yeah, exactly. If we get to a point where we both kind of like are lost for words and there's a really long pause, and I might go in and shorten that pause a bit.
Sure. Got a bit of a cough and cold as well at the moment, so you might need to cut a few splutters out as well.
That's all right. And we got our neighbours are doing some building work at the moment, so hopefully they won't start drilling or something halfway through this episode.
Yeah.
That'd be really annoying. But it's happened before. Cool. Yeah. All right. Well, should we just get going, and then what I'll do later is I'll add in an introduction that I'll record on my own, sort of explain who you are and stuff like that.
Perfect.
And we can just get going. All right. Well, thanks for sorting this out. And yeah, if you let me know what it is you're up to and how I can help.
So I have a website called thecurioushost.com. That's where I write about things about hosting on Airbnb. It started because, initially I was living in the UK back in 2016. My wife's work said she had to go to America. So we both picked up sticks and moved over there at the same time that my son was due to be born. So I left a job at a law firm as a commercial property lawyer, and she carried on working over in Florida, and I was a stay-at-home dad with him. After a while, her work sent her on another secondment to the Middle East. Not ideal, really, because we had a 1.5-year-old. I sort of saw that opportunity as a chance to go back to the UK and test out whether our house that we bought in Florida would work as an Airbnb rental. I uploaded the listing to the site and went from there, really. But my idea was, I think basically I'd been following your blog for quite a while, and you pointed me at people like Tim Ferriss, and they'd come up. Well, it sparked in me the idea that I could make this a business I didn't need to be a part of, really, because I was going to be 4,000 miles away, so I couldn't really be a part of it. So I went about trying to think of ways that basically a guest could book, my cleaners could know that they were coming, I could receive payment, everything could happen, all whilst I was asleep or surfing or having fun doing something else. So that was the idea behind it all. I thought I'd share with other people how to do that, and kind of enjoyed doing that, so just carried on from there.
And so you launched your blog, which was originally Expat Property Investing.
Yes.
And then you changed it to thecurioushost.com after a while.
Yes.
So tell me a little bit about how the site has gone there.
So initially, being a lawyer not able to practice in the States, I wanted to keep contacts and keep sort of one foot in the door there. But as I was writing, I was finding that it wasn't particularly interesting to other people and wasn't something that they were wanting to read about. And also, it wasn't really what I wanted to write about because I was out of that world for a while. I'm now back in the UK, in Cambridge at the moment, back in commercial property, and that's, I can get back into that here. But from there, what I was enjoying doing was writing about that life that we were having. So that kind of spurred the change in direction. And I think it was the right change. I think I have a bit of a niche knowledge about being an expat and understanding how properties work in the UK and the US. But it's kind of dry. No one else cares. So if you really want to know, you can reach out and I'll just tell you how it works. But it's there's other websites that can take care of that. So I thought I'd focus more on just writing for fun and pleasure, really, with the hope that people would follow and be interested, and I could maybe monetize from there as well.
Cool. So when did you originally launch expat property investing?
Probably the first week or so that I got back to the UK. Um, so that would be February of last year.
So around February 2018,
Yeah.
and then later on in the year, when did you then change to the Curious Host?
It didn't take that long. I swapped over maybe after 2 or 3 months. There's quite a bit of crossover in it because I was writing from the expat property investor in things like, well, if you're an expat, you still need to remotely manage a property. So that's the same kind of concept as remotely managing a vacation rental as remotely managing a regular one.
Yeah.
Um, Also, ideas like you don't really need a manager because they're just going to skim the money off the top and not really provide much extra benefit. So there was a lot of crossover, but it was the tone and style that changed, and
Mhm.
didn't take very long to pick up on the fact that it was that my more successful posts were the ones that were of that nature.
Cool. And so how's it going?
It went okay for a while. I was pretty diligent at posting once a week, coming up with new ideas regularly, and sort of inspired by it. Um, Not really worrying about driving traffic, not really worried about if anyone else was reading it, just enjoying writing it to begin with.
Hmm.
Um, but I've hit a stage now where still not that much of a readership, so it does sort of eat away at the pleasure of doing it as well because I feel like I'm whistling in the wind a little bit.
Hmm. And so what are your goals? Like, what is it you're trying to get out of the website now?
So one goal, the house has become a pure Airbnb now. We've left there, we've moved back to the UK, and I have one page that guests can directly book. So that's one aspect of it. That's a minor aspect in truth, but I've left little business cards in the house, and if you want to come back a second time, you can just go straight to the Curious Host and book through me
Hmm.
rather than pay Airbnb the commission. And um, you know, I don't really like the idea of being stuck on one platform.
Yeah.
I've heard of other people being kicked off Airbnb for sort of spurious reasons, so I wanted um, another method of contacting those guests that I'd had. Um, the other focus of it was so monetization in other ways. I also put things like affiliate links on there, and also I have a small couple of links that point towards a consulting option as well if people want to talk through how they can set it up themselves. But I had no success on the consulting, had a small amount of success with the affiliates. Um, and having the website itself is useful just to be able to tell people a link if they want to see what the house looks like and if they want to inquire about a booking.
And so kind of going forward then, what is it you would like to improve about the site? What would you like to see more of?
More traffic, and that traffic then leading to primarily affiliate links that then lead to payments to me.
Okay, cool. Yeah, so the getting people to stay in your property is a side benefit. The main thing you want to focus on is kind of general audience. You don't want to be targeted at people who are going on holiday to Florida, for instance.
You're
You don't
right.
mind where
That's a
people come
side
from.
thing. I've got pretty full bookings anyway, so it's just having it there as a backup more than the main driving factor behind it.
Cool. And before we talk about kind of driving traffic and monetization and stuff, how are you doing for kind of inspiration behind new posts and stuff that you're writing about?
Well, life has been a bit hectic lately. We moved from the US back to Cambridge. We landed last week. I started work back in the new law firm
Hmm.
Monday, and things are a bit hectic. But at the same time, I'm staying in a different Airbnb right now. I can see things that they've not done that I would suggest that I'd suggest hosts do that improve the experience for guests. And it's funny once you start getting into it, you see inspiration in a lot of places for more content.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, and I'm still getting that. I'm still jotting down my ideas. Slower in posting those ideas, but a fair bit in the back burner waiting to come out.
Hmm. When you first emailed me, you had a few ideas. You said kind of projects you're thinking about, a glamping Airbnb, maybe a tiny house Airbnb. a super cheap French property to use on Airbnb. Are you still thinking about doing a project like that?
Absolutely, yeah. The glamping one, I think we'll get moving on throughout the summer. I think it should be a fairly simple one to set up, really. Kind of want to set it up one to see whether it in itself can make some money, but also
Yeah.
because it's a nice thing to write about if other people are inspired to do it. We've already got some nice big bell tents that look pretty and can be a nice way of setting up a site for someone. Got a friend who lives the countryside of Cambridgeshire. There's a farming family, and they've got a site we could put it on. We worked out the legalities of running a site, and you don't sometimes you need planning permission, that kind of thing, but we found a way around that. So I think that one's a quick, easy, viable one.
Mm.
Particularly around things that the site is near Peterborough, where there's a big Peterborough Beer Festival every year. So I think that kind of event might send a few people there. The French property, I'm still keen to do. I am, in all honesty, holding back to see what happens with Brexit before I make that plunge.
Yeah.
Um, I'm always amazed at how cheap property is in France and some beautiful places there. And again, it's another thing I can get my teeth into. I quite like doing things that I'm already curious about anyway. So that's another aspect I'd look at. Um, but no real movement on that one yet.
So then the idea then would be you would have kind of an ongoing project that you would sort of journal and post about with pictures and how-to guides, kind of
Exactly.
then combined with your general blog posts, which are, how to automate your Airbnb, why you shouldn't use a management company, all that kind of stuff.
Exactly. And another project I will be writing about if we can get the funding behind it first. We're looking to buy a house in Cambridge, but Cambridge is incredibly expensive.
Mm.
Um, so rather than just buy a house for ourselves, I'd look at splitting that house as a way that part of it can become an Airbnb with a separate access, separate sort of living space and everything different to us, maybe just almost a flat conversion idea. And
Mm.
again, I just journal how that went and what hurdles I found and how I overcome them.
Yeah, I think doing stuff like that and blogging about it would give you a very kind of unique. There wouldn't be anything else like it that's doing the exact same thing.
Hmm.
Whereas if you're just doing, 10 tips to do something or other, or how to automate your Airbnb, or why not use a management company, it's quite hard to really stand out from the crowd that way.
Yeah,
And then they both have their advantages, right? So with something like doing a project like that, you've got the advantage that if it works out as a project on its own, then that will make money. It's something that you want to be doing anyway, and that will turn into a business. Then you've also got the side that, yeah, it will then drive extra traffic to your site, and it will give reasons for people to keep coming back to your site rather than just arrive for the information they're looking for, read it, and then leave, and then never come back again.
yeah, I can picture now what you're thinking because of, for example, your content on Pipe House Gin. I follow
Yes.
your blog a lot, and that was one aspect of your blog that was recurring, and I wanted to know what was happening next. So I came back and was waiting to see the next month's email or whatever it was saying that you had another post about it, and that kept me interested. So if that's the line you're thinking, I agree. I should be trying something along that as well.
Yeah, exactly. And one of the reasons, so with the Pipe House Gin posts, there wasn't really any monetization in there. There wasn't really any way for me to make money from it. But then once people have arrived and they keep coming back to the website, then other posts, like the really detailed how-to guides where there is monetization, is what then ends up earning money. And kind of by doing stuff like the Pipe House Gin posts, there's stuff that's quite easy for other people to share on their websites and link to. So it's
Hmm.
quite an easy way to get people to arrive at your blog because you're doing something unique, something that's interesting to everyone. Whereas getting traffic to your 10 tips or your how-to guides can be quite difficult
Because everyone's got them.
because everyone's got them and everyone's quite skeptical because people know that there are affiliate links going on. They know that in some ways you're going to be making some money out of the post. And as you say, there's something that they think anyone can do.
Hmm.
Whereas writing, anyone can write down 10 tips on how to automate something or other, or 10 tips on why you shouldn't use a management company for Airbnb. And there's no sort of proof that you actually know what you're talking about.
Sure.
Whereas if they can then go and see that you've chronicled all these steps that you've gone and you've built these tents and you found the place and you've worked out all the legal requirements around it, and then you've put it on Airbnb and you've got the listings of how much everything cost, and you show how you then got customers, how you then got people to come and stay on it on Airbnb, how you took the pictures, and then you can, after the first year, you can show how much money it made, you can do all your expenses and profit and that kind of stuff. The fact that you've gone through all that effort shows you know what you're talking about.
Mhm.
It gives you it's kind of the proof that the other articles that you've written are you actually have the knowledge to write them.
Yeah, I see that. So in essence, adjust the quality of the content.
Yeah, so we generally talk about content first, and that doesn't mean that you'll then get traffic automatically because you've got good content. You still need to promote that content. But if you think about what it is about your site that makes people want to be there, and then how to build up that kind of validation that you are an expert in the field, and then also just posting stuff that you're interested in as well and that you would want to read if it was on someone else's website.
Sounds good.
So that's kind of like on the content side. Should we talk a little bit about then monetization and traffic?
Okay, sounds good.
Sure. So how are you currently trying to get traffic?
Started initially just by writing it, putting it online, and that was almost it.
Mm.
Um, moved towards using Twitter a bit. So I had a fairly strict schedule. So on Mondays, posts would come out. On Tuesdays, Wednesdays, Thursdays, Fridays, there would be a different thing for each day as to what I was tweeting about. Um, it would still sort of fall on deaf ears. I felt there was some engagement with other people that were doing similar things,
Yeah.
but that didn't seem a way to reach people that were just curious in the first place.
Yeah.
Still kept going with the Twitter just because it seems an easy thing to do, so might as well keep doing it anyway.
Mhm.
There's some programs that make it fairly easy to set up as well. I was using Hootsuite just to say that every Friday I tweet a different thing about my Airbnb just to sort of attract people, and it's easy to set that up rather than having to sit there on Twitter each day and do that. Another thing I feel I probably have had more success driving traffic. Um, I've been using that to answer other people's questions about Airbnb,
Yeah.
and I've kind of joined into the community a bit there as well. Initially, I was just almost spamming it. I wasn't spamming it. I was putting good quality answers to things, but only with the purpose of sending people towards me. And I think that kind of can leave. I never had a response saying this, but I felt a little bit disingenuous just using it for that.
Yeah.
And I
Yeah.
actually found I started enjoying using it just as a Quora user who also was there to help people with Airbnb issues. So
Yeah.
that's the way I've changed on that. And I think that's the one that's driven most traffic towards me.
Hmm.
Um, I think it has a no follow link.
Yeah. So that no follow links on Quora, so it's not great for SEO.
Exactly. So I wasn't feeling like, so I felt I had those unique visitors from Quora coming to me, but it wasn't helping in other senses of pushing me up the Google ranks. But it still did send people to me and sort of gave me a level of authority on the subject, and that helped too. Things I haven't tried is pretty much anything else to do with SEO. I've installed Yoast on the website and made sure everything's always green. If people have read your blog, they'll know what that means. You know, there's a little traffic light system when you um, use the Yoast plugin, and it will show people, well, it will show me as the website creator, whether it's search engine optimized. But I don't think I've done enough. Just because I've got the green lights, I don't think that really helps me stand out in the whole internet's worth of people. Another thing I haven't done is Facebook. I haven't even shared it on Facebook, which I probably should have done. I was kind of holding back. Firstly, I've stopped using Facebook. It's not really something that interests me much at the moment.
Yeah.
So I hadn't shared much on there either. But I was also waiting to get to a level of quality that I was happy with.
Yeah.
Now that I feel like I've reached the level of quality I'm happy with, but waited too long to share it with all my friends and people that I should feel comfy sharing it with. But I don't know, I chickened out. It's the simple answer on that one. And lastly, the area I've not touched at all, but and don't think is justified, but I'm really curious to hear your thoughts on it, is PPC a pay-per-click campaign to see
Mm.
whether that would send people to it, which would then pay dividends.
Cool. All right, well, let's talk quickly about SEO to begin with, and we'll go back to what you were saying about that green light on Yoast. So that green light represents that you on-page optimized for the keyword you've chosen. So how are you going about choosing the keyword?
It depends on the topics. If I scroll to my site now and see a few topics. So one of the pages that I have the most success for leading through to clicks on affiliate links is the right Airbnb lock for easy guest access.
Yeah.
So obviously you need a lock that can have a key code or whatever to get into it. But if you don't own the if you don't own the house, and your landlord has just said you're okay to use Airbnb, then you probably can't install a big lock. So there's 10 different types of locks that you can use. I've got a video of how to install them and that kind of thing. So that one I would have, I think my keyword is simply Airbnb lock. Now that might be too short a keyword or might not be too specific. Curious to hear your thoughts on that.
That sounds like a good sort of primary keyword for you to focus. But then what you can do is you can look for a few longer tail ones and just make sure you have those sentences 2 or 3 times throughout the post.
But am I right in thinking anything I set as the keyword in Yoast doesn't actually change it? It's what's actually within the content. So I could pick a keyword of my own, and as long as that's in there, it counts. Is that the right way? Am I right in thinking that?
Yeah, exactly. Yoast doesn't change anything kind of on the back end. It's just there. It just analyzes the text you've done. Tells you how many times you've included that keyword in your post. And the thing about Google is people aren't just arriving at your site from that one keyword. They're arriving from hundreds of different ones.
So I can come up with additional keywords, make sure they're in there. The fact that I haven't got more green lights for it from Yoast doesn't mean to say that it's not doing its work on the SEO.
Yeah, exactly.
That's good to know. Thanks.
How is your search engine traffic at the moment?
Pretty low. I said about 300 a month.
Okay. From unique from Google, is that pretty much?
That's what Google Analytics is telling me.
Yeah. And have you worked out where the traffic is coming from? Like the ratio of Quora versus search engine traffic versus Twitter, that kind of thing.
So let me just pop onto the analytics section now. I think because Quora is no follow, I don't see most of those coming from there. It does show me some success with Twitter. It does show me some success with direct linking, which I'm guessing the direct ones are ones that I put elsewhere out on the web rather than people search for me.
Direct link just means that they've kind of typed into the web bar and gone straight to your website. Not that they've clicked on a link somewhere else.
Okay.
To your website. But it can also mean that they've also got lots of privacy settings on their browser, so they can't see where it's coming from.
Right.
So no follow by Quora doesn't mean that you won't see it in Google Analytics.
Okay.
No follow just means it's telling Google not to use this link to help build the SEO and to help Google work out how valuable your website is.
Okay.
So the reason you're not seeing the traffic from Quora is probably because your website doesn't have SSL, isn't secure.
Right.
So I've just gone onto it and it says not secure at the top. So so that's probably one of the first things you should probably change is get an SSL certificate for your website, and they're free to do, and your host will be able to set that up for you.
I had no idea I could do that, so I'll definitely do that.
Do you know what I'm talking about? So on your website, yeah.
Go ahead though. I'm guessing it's where instead of HTTP it says HTTPS.
That's exactly it. Yeah.
The idea being that it's certified as safe.
Yeah, and that is something else that Google uses to work out how reliable your website is.
Okay. So I can just hop into WordPress and find a way of adding that there. Is that right?
So you can either do it on WordPress, but it'd be better to do it on the host end. So
Right.
if you talk to, so do you know who you're hosted with?
Bluehost.
Bluehost, yeah. So they'll probably have an SSL thing just in their cPanel section, or you can open I don't know if they have live chat, but you can go on live chat with them or send them an email or something to help set that up.
Okay.
Yeah, sorry, I can't help because the host I use, I just go on live chat and they set it all up for me. But
Okay.
there will be ways to do it in Bluehost and stuff.
Good stuff. I'll definitely do that. That's quick, easy win almost. Why not do that one?
Yeah, yeah, and that'll help. And then you'll be able to see a bit more of a detailed breakdown from where if stuff is coming from Cora.
Okay.
And what you should also be able to see on Google Analytics is how much traffic you have coming from Google itself.
Yes.
Yeah, how is that looking? Have you looked into that?
So this week 3, which is not very high.
Yeah, so that is really low, and that sounds like Google isn't really indexing you
Hmm.
properly. They don't think of you as a decent website. One of the reasons I asked when you started the website is that Google like old websites.
Hmm.
So once your website is about a year old, it should start getting a bit better. And it sounds like you're just about at that year point now.
Well, I suppose because I changed the uh, URL, that will be when it moved to the Curious host, I would guess.
Yeah, so that probably affected things a little bit.
Hmm.
And then the other thing that kind of implies is that you probably don't have many follow links going to your site.
Okay.
So it might be that the link in my show notes might be your first one.
It could be, yes. Well, I suppose I've got the ones I've put on Quora. I put a couple of others on other forums and that sort of thing. Do they count? Is that what you mean?
So the ones on Quora will be no follow.
Okay.
So we're talking about links that. So the way kind of Google works is there's on page and off page sort of optimization. So Yoast helps with on page optimization. It's all about keyword density and stuff like that. But then the way Google works out how high your post should appear on a Google search is often down to the off-page optimization, which is how many other websites that it thinks are good are linking to you,
Hmm.
and they're linking to you not with no follow links. Does that make
Right.
sense?
Yeah.
If you don't have any, then Google probably think you're not worth looking at. It does look at other things, so it looks at kind of social media as well. So links from Facebook and Twitter and Quora kind of all count towards that. But you also need as well other types of links going on.
Okay. Any tips on how I go about acquiring more of those?
So there's loads of things you can do. It's hard work. It's not. There aren't easy solutions. So one thing that could work quite well for you is if you're writing about projects and stuff that you think that you're quite proud of the posts and you would like to read them, you can post them on places like Reddit and other forums like that.
Okay.
And somewhere like Reddit, the links do count.
Okay.
Um, Reddit is one of the few ones that still have follow links. And so Google will know that if you get a lot of upvotes on your Reddit posts and that Reddit post has links to your website, that will count quite well.
Okay.
So I don't know if you've ever used Reddit, but
I've, I've seen it, I've not interacted with it, if you know what I mean. I've been a passive user there.
yeah, yeah. So it's another kind of forum type platform where people will upvote or downvote posts. So when you create a post, if people like it, it'll get popular and it will appear high on the front page and stuff like that. If people don't like it, they'll downvote it and no one will see it. So the best way to use Reddit is to actually create posts that people really want to read.
Hmm.
And um, so that's on Reddit. Other ways you can do is you can find people with websites that are in a similar industry or category with you and then try and get them to post to you. And that can be done by, you can say, offer to write a guest post for them. You can, a lot of people buy links on other websites. Google doesn't really like it, but you can do like link exchanges where you say, I'll link to you if you link to me. Generally, the old advice was that if you write good content, people will start posting it on their own blogs, but that often doesn't really happen.
And in truth, that was solely what I was relying on.
Yeah, I mean, it's never really happened to me. I think I've had less than 20 people, I think, post to me, like link to me on. It's because most people now use social media, and social media is all no follow links.
Mhm.
There aren't that many people with their own blogs anymore.
Yeah, I like the idea of guest posts. I must say, buying links and link exchanges seems a bit spammy. Doesn't seem like who I am. Um,
Yeah, I wouldn't recommend buying links, or I don't do any of that either, or link exchanges. Um, and to be honest, building links is something I'm really bad at. And it's something I've hired, people in the past to help do. But what I have been doing since January is writing guest posts for people.
okay.
So you might have noticed in one of my emails, I was saying, one of my monthly emails, maybe a couple of months ago, I was asking if anyone has a site and would like me to write a post for them. Let me know. I'd love to do that.
Mhm.
And then I've also been posting on blogger forums and places like that, saying, I'm looking for people in this industry to write guest posts for. So I've kind of been going out and writing a lot of content for other people just to try and, because there's two bonuses there. One is that their readers might like the content and then click on a link and end up on my blog.
Mhm.
And then the other one is that it also helps towards Google. And if you do have some sort of, hook in your on your site, like a series that they want to come back and read more about, then that's quite a good way to get people to stay.
Yeah.
Same with Quora and same with Reddit. So Reddit, if you have a link to your post and it is something they actually want to read, you then get loads of traffic anyway.
Mhm.
Plus also the Google juice. The other thing, if you've got interesting articles the newspapers or news sites would be interested in, you can also write guest posts for them or get them to link to you. So I had a little bit of success with so places like BuzzFeed or BBC News or The Telegraph, all these kind of places are often looking for content. And if you're doing something interesting, then you can sometimes get them to write a post about you and link to you that way.
Mhm.
I mean, these are all like they're all quite difficult and they all take a lot of work, and that's kind of why they're worth something. If there were easy answers, then everyone would do it, and then everyone would, and then Google would say it's not worth that much anymore. The reason why these links are worth so much is because they're hard to get, and it shows that if you've got them, you probably are quite a serious person. You've got a serious website.
Mhm. Great tips.
Does that kind of make sense?
Yeah, it definitely does. Yeah.
So, and it's nice to have multiple benefits from each thing. So, one might be, let's say you're doing a series on building your glamping site. You got your first year series. You then go to Reddit and you find a forum. Maybe these small houses um, subreddit or a forum about um, interesting Airbnb ideas or whatever, and you can post and you can summarize what it is you did in your first episode and say, "Oh, I'm writing a series about it. Here's a link to my page." People might like that, then they might click on it, and so you might get a bunch of people from there who come to your site. Then they might sign up to your newsletter or whatever, so they'd hear more about it.
Mhm.
Then that might also work well for some Google juice. So Google might see a lot of people traveling through this link and this link doing quite well, and then might start ranking you a bit better on Google searches. But then that means they'll be ranking your whole website. So this one post might have no monetization or not that much benefit to you directly. But because that one's doing quite well, then Google will start ranking your other posts, the ones which have better monetization.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, that sounds great. So a big from taking away from this, have a big change of focus towards the SEO um, behind it all.
I don't, not necessarily a big change of focus. I like what you're doing with Cora. That I don't know whether you're doing it because you saw me. I was doing it, but I had a lot of success with Cora. That's where, in fact, Cora is where I got my first lot of traffic from. That's the first place
Hmm.
for me. So yeah, keep doing Cora. And as you say, the more involved you are in the community there, the better it would be. Um, if Twitter's working for you, keep doing Twitter. But the problem I have with a lot of social media like Facebook and Twitter is that it's quite a lot of continued work.
Hmm.
So if you've got that down with your automation whatever on Twitter, then that's great. For me, I find I don't really post enough that it works that well. Whereas when I do an answer on Quora, anytime someone searches for that question in the future, my answer still comes up. So I
Yeah.
still get, even though I haven't posted on Quora in 6 months or something, I still get quite a bit of traffic a day from the hundreds of answers I did years ago.
Yeah.
I think that's all good. It's just try different things is more what I'm saying.
Hmm.
It sounded like you hadn't really done much SEO stuff, so that's why I was talking about SEO. Is it's something that's definitely worth doing a bit of. But you might as well try a bit of everything, right? So see
Sure.
what works for you.
Yeah, I'm down with that. The one thing I've not been really keen to try yet is the pay-per-click, because it seems like putting money into something that can't even make the money doesn't seem justifiable at the moment. What would your thoughts be on that one?
Yeah, I'd stay away from pay per click if I was you. I've have you read my blog post where I tried to do pay per click for the blog?
Yes.
Yeah, and I didn't really get anywhere. The problem is that the amount you make per visitor to your website isn't that much.
Hmm.
So, and you have to pay quite a bit on pay per click. So, if you were selling a course on how to automate your Airbnb listing, and that course was £200, then yeah, you can do pay per click to that because you don't need that many sales in order to make back your money.
Hmm.
But as it is, your monetization is for affiliates, where I assume you're earning. If someone goes on and they like it and then they click and then they buy one of these locks, I assume you're making two, three, £4 or something like that, which
I think a
means
lock's about £8, but most of them, that's about as high as they come, I think.
yeah, yeah,
Unless it's say that's Amazon affiliates, but there are other affiliates that do pay better that I've also used, but only one of them has paid out. That would be the Airbnb host affiliate.
yeah.
So that was $300 for that one. So that's one example, I suppose, of where it might pay more. But
Well, if you do have an affiliate that will pay you $300 a go, and you have found a way to get targeted pay per click traffic that converts well, that could work for you. I haven't been able to make it work for me. It's just what I'd say to that.
sure,
But you can give it a go. You can experiment with not that much money and see if it works for you.
I think I will exhaust my efforts on the SEO stuff first before
Yeah.
I go down that route.
With the SEO, even if it doesn't work out straight away, that's the work you've done will be there forever and it will keep adding to the idea of Google that your website is good and there's a lot going on and people like it.
Mhm.
So you might do a bunch of SEO and not really see much results, but then a year down the line, when you've done loads of other stuff as well, then that's it all adds together and it all gives you some exponential return and then suddenly you'll get loads of traffic.
Okay.
The one thing you haven't really posted on Facebook yet, you said, so you haven't really told friends and stuff about your site.
Only the odd friend that I think is particularly interested, either in Airbnb or blogging or something along those lines, not
Mm.
to general friends and family.
Like if you have any really good posts that you think the average person would be interested in, yeah, I suggest sharing that. I think
Yeah.
it took me about 3 months before I told anyone, 2 months before I told anyone that I was blogging and stuff. And even now, I don't post most of my articles to friends and family. But when it's something that I think that people would be interested in, I do. And it's quite a good test, right? Because your friends and family, they're going to be the ones who are most likely to want to read your stuff. So if you manage to convert a couple of them to readers, that's good. But then if none of them are interested, then maybe that says something about your content.
Yeah.
And you can get some feedback from them and ask about what it is you can improve, that kind of stuff.
That sounds good.
And especially if you're doing, so one of the things I was posting was I was posting that series on the gin because it's kind of the sort of stuff that even if you're not interested in gin or in starting business or in whatever, it is quite interesting.
I mean, your friends are presumably interested in your life, so that thing that's taking up your life at the moment is kind of interesting to friends anyway, I'd hope.
Yeah, exactly, exactly. And one of the things I really liked about doing the glamping stuff is that it's a good business regardless of if your website doesn't really work out.
Sure.
And there is also, by posting stuff online, it gives you that kind of kick up the backside to make sure you actually do it and keep going with the project.
Yeah, I really like that about blogging. I think I'd still do it even if you said you're never going to get any traffic. Well, you know what? I still like um, having an idea, and sometimes it makes me commit to the idea. Sometimes it makes me see through the idea more clearly. Um, say there's a complex point, it'll make me, if I've understood it okay enough to crack on myself, then fine. But if I've understood it enough to write it coherently to an audience, then I really know it, and that's
Mhm.
a step above, I think, which I like about it.
Yeah, I think you're very correct there. When I'm trying to learn a new skill, I try and not only learn from an expert and find a beginner and try and teach it to them as well. So I
Hmm.
do a lot of Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, and in that I purposely go along to like a beginner session every Tuesday to try and teach what I've learned to people. Even though I'm not that good, it's just a way of helping me get better myself.
Hmm.
Awesome. Cool. I mean, we've talked for quite a while now. Was there anything else you really wanted to chat about?
That's it for me. I really appreciate the time. If you have other comments or criticism on the website, I'm open to it. Um, People don't really
Yeah,
like to hear
I could.
criticism, but I'm okay with it.
Yeah, I said the SSL thing.
Hmm.
That's worth doing. I like the name, the Curious Host. I think that's good. Um, when I went on your page today, I got two. So I got a pop up asking me to sign up to the email list. I closed that. Then immediately afterwards, I got a different pop up asking me to sign up to something else. So I had
Oh,
to
that's
close
not
that.
how I intended it. No.
So I found that a bit frustrating that I was trying to read your posts and I kept having this stuff shoved in my face. Um, so there's that.
So,
I
so I do hear how getting that mailing list is really important, which is what that's about.
mm,
Better to get rid of the mailing list signups and just let people enjoy the site, would you say?
look. I don't know the answer to that. People who are much
Mhm.
more successful than me say you should do that sign up thing. I don't personally. I've experimented at times, and you do get a lot more email sign-ups by having it. Um, I for a long time I didn't have it at all because I just wanted people to have the best experience possible. But maybe there's a give and take, isn't there? Maybe it is worth being a little bit annoying in order to get those email sign-ups.
Well, it annoyed you, it annoys me. I'm going to get rid of it, I think.
Okay, sure. And you still got the sidebar, right?
It's a little, basically, to set up the whole site, I went onto your how to set up a website in 1 hour and
Okay.
put everything that you've said on there. So I've got the Yoast, I've got Sumo sign up bar at the bottom.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, I don't think the Sumo one's so obtrusive. It's just a line on the bottom of the screen,
Yeah, I
um,
think that's fine.
and then
I've
people
got
can
no problem
share
with
from
that.
there as well.
Yeah. I think you could do with putting some more stuff on your homepage. For
Okay.
instance, you don't have your latest blog feed on the homepage.
Okay.
So when I went on the site, I thought that those three links you had were your most recent posts. And I remember coming on it a few months ago and it was the same three links there. So I was like, oh, he hasn't written any posts in months. And then I went on latest. It's like, oh no, there have been more posts.
Okay. So if I had, say, another three tiles on top that had the last three of them, just to keep that homepage a bit fresh.
Yeah, yeah. Like make it, you could say, latest or whatever, and then your latest blog posts. And then you can say the best of, and then have your three main posts that you want people
Hmm.
to click on, or the other way around, just to make it clear that these are your favorites and these are the latest kind of thing. Um, it just makes it, I see that you have written, or check out my latest post here, and then there is a link, but I didn't read that because I just kind of glance at
You
the
scan it.
page,
Yeah.
and your eyes go straight to the pictures and stuff.
Hmm.
Yeah, I like the Twitter feed on the right. I thought that was good, especially as you're posting regularly,
Hmm.
which is nice. It means that people come to interact with you. I like your resources page. That's good. Yeah, it's nice that you had the stay at my page, my place thing. As you said, it's quite nice. I liked what you were saying about getting off Airbnb and having a way to, avoid their commissions and people can book a different way. I thought that was pretty clever. Um, yeah, that's it really. Your posts sound good. I read through some of them and they're well laid out and there's pictures and there's not terrible spelling mistakes and all that kind of stuff. That's good.
There's probably a few, but
Yeah, but not enough that it's because some people you just see a big block of text.
yeah,
Come on, those. I like that. I think that it would be good if you could have a few more posts that give people, a really good reason to stay, which is why I was talking. Don't get me wrong, I wasn't saying that the posts you've got are bad. It's that I do think there is a benefit to having those. It's what I do myself, having those experiments and those ongoing projects.
the word you
That
used
people,
earlier, have a hook, that kind of stuck out when you said it. Have a reason
exactly.
that they're going to come back, and I tend to do things, tend to do it, and then post when it's done. And actually, I think people quite like the journey of I'm starting out, and this is how I think it'll happen, and then next week, okay, it didn't work out how I planned, but I'm going to do this, so it'll change. And I think
Yes,
that's what I've
exactly.
enjoyed on your posts, and I've enjoyed the big how tos
Mm.
as well. But maybe I keep coming back regularly because of those progressive posts.
Yeah, I think so. And I can only speak from my experience. And
Mm.
that's what I found. Yeah.
Plus, it's
Yeah,
a
I think
nice
that'd be
excuse
good.
to have a play at those projects too. It kind of gets me going on them. So yeah, I will. We'll get moving with that.
Yeah, exactly. And they sound really good. Like that one about I really like the first one you're saying about doing the glamping stuff. I thought that could be really interesting,
Hmm.
especially as you said, your background is in the legal side. So for me, one of the intimidating stuff about that is I don't know the laws. Can I just buy a bit of farmland and stick some tents on it and rent them out? I don't know.
Hmm.
And I find that all quite interesting.
Yeah, I think I know the answer to that. So
I
follow the website and you'll find out when I do it, I guess.
will do. I will do. Yeah, and it's sort of thing that when there's a new post, it gives someone a reason to sign up to your email list as well. That's the other thing I found. Was that they read one post, the next post isn't out yet, and so then they'll sign up to the email list to
Right.
hear about it.
Yeah,
Cool.
that's definitely lots of food for thought for me. So what I'm going to start doing then is going to actually go ahead with that idea, talking about those posts that develop over time, but also start working more on the SEO side of things, and I'll probably drop off Twitter. I'll just let it keep running in terms of you know a schedule that sort of tweets itself once a month. I think of what needs to go there, but I'm not seeing much else come back from it, so I think I'll drop that one off in favor of working harder at the other aspects.
Sounds good. Sounds good. I
Well,
look forward to
great.
seeing how you get on.
I'll let you know if I get a flurry of readers.
Awesome. Yeah, it'd be interesting to see if just that one post, one link from my site, then maybe that'll have a little effect, and you'll go from having a handful of Google clicks to maybe 50 or 100 a week.
Yeah,
Yeah, it'd be interesting.
here's hoping.
Awesome. All right, then, Owen, thanks a lot.
Thanks very much, Sam. I really appreciate that. It was a lot of your time, and that was really good of you to give that to me.
Oh, no worries. I hope there was some use in there.
Absolutely. Oh, I've just had a follower on Quora called Sam Priestley. That's nice to know.
Ah, wonder who
Good
that
stuff.
is.
Thanks again. Best of luck with all your businesses.
Awesome. You too. Cheers, Owen.
Bye.
Goodbye.